Welcome back again. We are here with the lovely Sarah Jay for a part two of the unforgettable build. How are we doing today, Sarah Jay?
I'm good. Thank you.
Great to have you back. Great to have you back. Of course, I've got my co-host with me, Prime Minister.
Yeah, we're back in the building and we got the very knowledgeable Sarah Jay, and we're here to pick her brain once again.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, what's been going on? What has been going on in your world since our last conversation? Anything majorly exciting? Anything you want to put out there?
Nothing incredible. I think the last time that we spoke, I just got back from Tampa and Orlando. I went and visited my parents. They're doing well. And besides that, I even have to look at my calendar to see. I was in Chicago for the Chicago Exotica. We shot a bunch of scenes out there.
How was that? I've saw quite a lot of imagery. I don't think I've seen much footage in the way of footage, but how did that go? It seemed like it was a pretty big success.
Yeah, it was good. This is my, I think, 11th or 12th expo in Chicago. So it was pretty standard. No hiccups. Everything went well.
And in reference to Chicago, because generally I guess when you think of expos and that kind of stuff, you think of, like the West Coast and stuff in California, LA, that kind of thing.
Not really. We don't really have any on the West Coast.
You don't?
No, not at all.
So where are the okay? So this is good. This is good. So where are they mainly held then?
Well, we have, as far as the Exotica branch goes, they have one this year in New York. Well, it's outside of New York and New Jersey. They have one in Chicago. They have one in Miami. And they added a new one this year to Portland, Oregon, which I guess would be considered the West Coast. But I don't expect it to last very long. Our shows on the West Coast don't do very well. So sometimes they try one out and then they'll cancel it. But we don't have any annual shows on the West Coast. We also, that's just the Exotica chain, but there's a lot of other shows as well. But most of them are business to business shows. XBiz has a business to business that's in Los Angeles, but there's no fans there. They have one in Miami. They have one in Berlin, the XBiz or Europa. I go to shows all over, the world. There's
AVN, for instance. Where do they do their sort of venues?
Yeah, that's in Las Vegas. But again, that's not really the same type of show.
Yeah.
The AVN has traditionally been a show where, it's not a merchandising event. So fans come and they just meet you and they see the booths. And it's actually a show that's gone quite downhill. There's really not a lot. There's really not a lot going on there at that show.
Oh, dear. So do you think
we have the award show.
So do you think they maybe need to revamp the whole idea or what they're doing maybe
not really. It's politics. It's a show that's, run by old rich white people. So, in general, it's going to stay the way it is,
Yeah. Well, you're one of these bubbly, lively characters that, buck certain trends to a point or, raises or brings certain issues to the forefront. So, and there are more of you out there. So
I guess what I'm trying to say is there's really not much of a place for a merchandising show on the West Coast. The West Coast isn't the right market for it. So the shows that we do have on the West Coast are business to business primarily or networking events.
Okay. So,
all right, let me come in.
If you want to know why the market is not there, the market's not there because most of the performers and most of the companies are based on the West Coast. So there's not a lack of interaction with adult community on the West Coast. Whereas if you go to some place like Chicago, it's more restrictive. You go to some place like the East Coast where, they don't really see girls and talent like adult stars that often. So there's much more of a fan base, plus a denser population on the East Coast as well. So we have a denser population. They are starved for pornography, and there's a lot more collectors and people that are interested in, spending money in order to meet their fans' favorite stars, and spending money, to purchase things like autographs and pictures, and it's a merchandising event.
Okay, so since the last time we spoke, Sarah, it happened that today I was in a gym and I spoke to an individual who is a fan of yours, very excited that you were coming back on the show. And he actually gave me a piece of information that I'm not even sure if you know, that you actually worked with a guy from our city before. We're from a place called...
I've been to...
Not London, we're from Birmingham, we are.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. I'm sorry. I apologize.
So who is that guy you worked with then?
I've worked with numerous guys from the UK, so I'm not sure. I haven't really kept track of what city.
You don't know the accent?
Right. I understand. I'm not completely sure what city the performers that I work with are from, but I have worked with numerous people from the UK before.
Okay. Well, I was hoping you would have known the name, but no problem. So, all right. We want to pick your brain a little bit. When did you realize that this business was so lucrative, and how did you make your transition into that? Not as a performer, as a business person, because we want to make sure people know that you're strong on the business side.
Yeah, I feel like I've always been business minded more than not. I feel like I was business minded prior to entering into the adult industry. So me deciding to be involved in the adult industry was a business move, and I knew that I would be able to make money at it. I was a stripper before, and I made great money at that. And I knew that sex sells. Everybody knows sex sells. So if there is money to be made, I will be making it.
And with the digital era now, that's something that I would multiply that, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it puts the power in your own hands versus in someone else's hands on how you make money.
But what about with these websites, like the websites that take your content? Does that help or hinder the business?
Which websites?
I don't want to say no specific names, but the websites that take clips of every...
Oh, tube sites. They're called tube sites.
Okay.
They're user uploaded tube sites. They aren't responsible for that themselves. What happens is that users such as yourself, you might go to my site that you have a membership to, and you download the content, and then you put it up for free on Pornhub or any of these other tube sites. And they've actually started working with us now so that we can get paid for those views that are essentially illegal. And it makes a really great relationship that they've been able to change their business model to from being a pirate to being quite a saint, and rewarding us for those views. I mean, something had to happen. The generations that have come after mine, they don't even know anything else. They don't know a world without internet. They don't know a world without tube sites and without free porn. So for them to be able to help us monetize that, I'm very appreciative.
Okay, so it's something that they're doing right by you. So is it a similar model to YouTube then, like pennies on the thousands, or is it a much better? Because I know that the audiences on them sites must be much more interactive than, say, a YouTube. Or is that not true?
Yeah, it's better than YouTube. I have a YouTube channel as well, and like YouTube is pennies on the views, exactly. But no, like each one of these tube sites works out different deals, and everybody has a different thing. But there's definitely plenty of ways to monetize the content that's on there.
Okay, but what they're doing, but in essence, what they're doing is illegal by stealing the content or by allowing fans to update to upload content that they've paid for elsewhere?
That's not illegal, but when a viewer takes something that he has purchased and shares it with the entire world for free, that is an illegal upload. So, they have been accused of facilitating that kind of behavior. And so, in order to correct that, they've been able to change their business structure in a way that will allow us to get paid.
Okay, great stuff. And how do you know when you are actually trying to source talent? How do you know that this talent is ready for the camera? How do you know this talent is good enough to perform? Do you trial them, or is it something where it lights, camera, action, and then you find out?
Well, I usually don't hire unexperienced male talent. That becomes more of a liability to my company and to my day and my time. But I will hire occasionally new girls or unexperienced girls if they've got a specific look, or if I can tell that they're business minded or they're marketing themselves properly online. Then I would take the chance and, just do like a girl scene with them, something that isn't going to, cost me a lot out of pocket. And I kind of like baby step them. If they do well with the girl scene, then maybe I'll put them in a boy girl scene and we'll see how that goes. And I usually try not to invest too much into new talent because it's usually wasted.
And do you think that's down to the shock of being on camera? Because I mean, you like with the conversation that I was having with the person today, who happens to be a member of, I think you've got is it a website that you pay monthly for? I don't want to say his name, but he said he's a member of your personal thing, your personal.
Yeah, I have a couple of sites like that.
Well, this is a paying subscriber, so. Is it something that when the lights are on, you might be someone who, in your private life, you're a top performer. When the lights go on, you just can't give that same performance under the lights?
Rarely. I mean, I guess that happens to males more than females, obviously, where you can't maintain an erection in front of other people, which is, part of the reason why I don't usually experiment with, unexperienced male talent. It could be any number of things. I've had people that were experienced male talents, they've been in the industry maybe a year and they can't perform in front of me.
Is that because the veteran that you are, or the legend that you are, is that why they can't do it?
Yeah, I guess, just a lot of times people get all in their head and they make things a lot bigger than they really are. And it's like, you're here to do a job, just do it, So that's the main reason why I don't work with unexperienced male talent. I just don't have, like I said, I don't have the kind of time to walk them through. Not only is it about erections, but there's a lot more to it being a male performer than just keeping your dick hard. You have to open up for the camera. You have to know what positions are going to look best, and you have to be able to be strong and be able to maybe carry the girl's weight occasionally, and creative. You have to be creative right off the top of your head. Sometimes if you're in the middle of a scene and the position is not working, you have to be creative enough to change that up in order to make it make sense and make it work. You also have to be a little bit educated to the point where you can ad lib. Most of our scripts and stuff are like loose guidelines. So you have to be a little bit intelligent enough to be able to put together a story in your head, put yourself in the character, and then be able to act as the character during the scene. A lot of people want to give porn actors like a really hard time for being bad actors, but the thing is, it's like, number one, no formal training. Number two, if we wanted to be actors, we would be actors. And number three, we have to think of all this stuff on the fly while your dick is hard. So I really feel that a lot of people give porn actors like a really hard time about their acting abilities, but that's not what we are. We're sexual performers. That's just acting has to be a small part of it, unfortunately.
Well, I gotta ask you a question, please. Don't be upset with me, for asking you this question. You know, because it's like a normal. I'm not gonna say normal, but it's your work. That's your business to make these scenes for the fans. So when when you go away from this, is it something that is a very hard for your partner to satisfy you because you've seen it all before, or does it feel new every time?
It's not that I wouldn't say that it feels new every time, but I would say that me choosing my partner does make me a little bit more picky when choosing my partner.
In what aspect?
Well, they have to satisfy me, obviously, and you know, not that, not that, not that I'm difficult to be satisfied. It's just that I need somebody who is going to put effort into it. I need somebody who's going to um, give me all they've got, because I am not going to be satisfied with, a C level performance. I'm not.
So what's the A level performance?
I have, choice of sleeping with whoever I want to have sex with. So if you are going to be with me, I need you to bring your A game.
But what does the A game, is that like a particular thing, or a man has to be all out? Like, does he have to perform every kind of way? Like, is there something like a man can say you don't do? Like, I don't do this, or I don't do that, or you don't want to hear that. You just want everything.
I definitely don't want to hear any no's. Like, that's a major turnoff. Like, whether I'm into it or not, if you start telling me all your limitations, then that lets me know that we're not compatible, because I don't really have any limitations, like, especially not with a partner that, I want to keep around. So limitations is definitely a turnoff. The biggest thing is communication. If I communicate to you that I like something and then you never do it again, then we're obviously not going to be compatible. If you communicate to me that you like something, I will definitely put that into our sexual repertoire on a regular basis. So, having a partner that's intelligent enough to read my verbal and physical cues, as well as reenact all of those things every time that we have sex, and give me a full energetic performance every single time.
Okay, that's a good. You answered that. You answered that better than I thought. Noble.
That was in detail, most definitely. So, well, to me, what you've said it doesn't seem like you're asking for anything out of the ordinary. The only thing I'm thinking of is the limits thing. Shouldn't we all have limits to a point?
Yeah, obviously we all have certain limits, but our limits have to match, like I
Yes.
don't really have any limits, and I have had partners who, maybe they don't like to kiss, or maybe they don't eat pussy, or maybe they don't want me to touch below their balls. And that makes it very uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
Like, it does. It makes me very uncomfortable, because this tells me that our sexual experiences are going to be limited.
Limited, yes, I agree. But from what you've mentioned there, that seems quite idiosyncratic, if I can say the word. That seems quite a minute detail versus maybe someone saying, "Okay, well, I really like you, Sarah, and I'm prepared to do, all of the usual sort of sexual acts, but I'm not into, let's say, BDSM, for instance." Would would you be saying, "Oh, well, I'm happy with what you've said so far, but I do actually like the bit of choking or whipping
Mm-hmm.
or etc." Would that be too much of a limit for you, maybe, or would you
It puts you
be?
in your lane. It puts you in your lane. That means that I won't be calling you as frequently as I would be calling somebody else who has less limits.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So you've mentioned that in essence, some male talent are, what's the best way to say, starstruck of sorts?
Yeah. Especially now, like a lot of the male talents that I'm casted with are under 30, and I am 41. I'll be 42 this year. So I've been doing this 20 years. Yeah, I get a lot of guys anymore who are starstruck.
And how do you handle that?
I'm sorry?
How do you handle that? I mean, obviously,
It's really there. It's really for them to handle. I mean, we're at work. Like, get it
yeah.
together. Yeah, like it's not my problem, to be honest with you. It's their problem. So I'm here to do a job, and I intend on doing my job, and I hope that they can get over themselves enough to do their job as well.
Yeah, I mean, you come across as a very confident and positive woman, and I'm imagining. Obviously, I've never been in a scenario, obviously, of a set, but I'm thinking, obviously, you arrive on set, you meet the director, etc. You go through, okay, what the potential scenes are, what he's looking for, and obviously you'll meet the male talent. Do you guys actually get, unless it's like a really in-depth where there's lots of like talking and dialogue. Outside of that, do you guys actually get a chance to really like sit down and and like have a conversation? Okay, I'm into this kind of stuff. These are my likes, these are my dislikes, kind of thing. What are you into? Blah blah blah. Or is it a case of...
it's pretty brief. I mean, any professional performer will come on set, and obviously you want to show some attraction to your partner. That helps make the whole day run smooth. But as far as what you're into and what you're not, we usually ask, is there anything you don't like, anything you do like? Okay, cool. And it takes about 2 minutes. It's like a 2-minute conversation, if that.
Okay.
I don't like anything in my asshole, and that's usually the end of that conversation.
But you've shot stuff like that before, haven't you, Sarah?
Say what?
I'm sure you've shot them type of scenes before, or am I mistaken?
No, never.
Never.
Mm-mm.
So you've never shot the A scenes?
Anal.
Okay.
No.
I thought you did.
Never shot any anal.
I was gonna say I don't. I think you. I was gonna say I don't. I'm sure I don't recall digging back in my memory banks. I don't recall any of that. Any of those scenes. Most definitely.
No. Never.
But I tell you the truth, though, in today's world, the way how the world is now, that's something that, I mean, maybe I'm mistaken, but it's something that comes as standard, ain't it? Especially in porn, isn't it?
I guess. Because I don't shoot that, I don't produce that.
What's the reason for that? Someone who's open, so open such as yourself?
Yeah, well, I don't like poop. Period. And I've been able to make a career out of being a porn star without doing anal. Like I said, I don't really like poop. It's a much more dangerous sexual act as well. I'm not against it. Like if if I had a performer that I was representing and they wanted to shoot anal, that's not a problem. But it's not something that I require of the people that I work with. I don't feel that it's definitely not as easy to shoot. The girl has to have dietary restrictions during that day and has to do a lot of extra preparation. And a lot of times the male performers don't like it. They don't want to shoot it either. So if we're doing something, if we're producing something that nobody wants to shoot, I just can't help but think that the product is not going to be a good product.
Can you elaborate, Sarah? What when you say the male talent doesn't want to do it, what do you mean by that?
Often the male talent does not want to be a part of an anal sex scene.
Okay.
You could have fooled me, though. You could have fooled me, Sarah.
I'm sorry.
No, I said you could have fooled me because I know that it's a big market for that. But I understand that you
It is
don't
a
do it. I
big
don't understand
market,
you don't do it.
right? No, it is a big market, but I don't have any demands on my production company to produce that type of material.
Yeah.
And since I don't have any demands coming from anybody else to produce that type of material, and most of the male talent that I work with, they're
Mhm.
not interested in shooting those types of scenes.
Mm.
I don't feel that we have to force it. If people want to do it, great, do it.
Yeah.
If a girl's like, oh, I love anal, and the guy's like, I love anal too, I'm like, well, fuck it, do it. But if two people aren't like so super gung-ho about doing it, no, I'm not going to force people to do anal just to do anal.
Mm. Could you give us, well, give the
I mean,
listeners
the holes are only about an inch apart. Like, is
exactly
it, you know what I'm
if
saying? Like,
that's
it causes so much more extra work for everybody. There's extra work for the girl, there's extra work for the guy. It makes the day a whole lot longer. And
what I,
it's literally like less than an inch apart.
I think it's of
what
the
is
mind.
yeah.
I think
I'm sorry.
it's of the mind. That I truly
Yeah.
believe. I think it's a mind thing because I don't think it was as popular in back in the day. Not to say I was around like that back in the day, but I don't think it was a thing that was that common back in the day. But in today's world, I think in popular culture and things like that with the music and things like that, it's became where people want to do that kind of thing, especially with all these big booties or what you want to call it.
You know what? My ass is just as big, even though I don't do anal. So I don't know. I'm not. Like I never really understood those types of comments. And if people want to do it, that's cool. If people want to watch it, that's cool. I don't have to produce it. There's plenty of other companies that are producing it. I don't have to as a producer, and I don't have to perform in it. There's plenty of other girls that perform it. I don't choose to do so. I don't do anything that I don't enjoy.
As you should. Sarah, for people who may not know, what is, you said there's extra dangers in performing such a sexual act. What could you go into a bit more, excuse me, a bit more detail in regards to the dangers of doing such things for the people who may not know and think this is a pretty safe practice?
Right. Okay. So not only is there like just the regular inconvenience of, the consideration that we're on camera, you have to be completely clean. Poop is like a major issue. So, like a lot of times these girls don't eat for 12 hours before they're seen. So by the time they get to set, they're hangry already. They're hungry and angry. And not to mention their whole dietary system, their whole digestive system is all out of whack because they haven't been eating. And sometimes the girls have to take like something like Imodium or something like that in order to make sure that, poop doesn't come out when they're doing anal sex. So besides those regular type of hygiene issues, it's also unsafe in comparison to vaginal sex. It's much more unsafe because the asshole is not meant to receive anything. It's meant to give poop out of it. So when you stick an dick in somebody's ass, the tissues tear. They don't give like a vagina do.
Mhm.
So when the vagina is made to be accepting and receiving, like babies can come out of there and dicks can go in there, whatever.
Exactly.
It's very stretchy and it's lubricated. It's the vagina is a self-lubricating thing. The
Mhm.
asshole is not, and it's dry and it's tight, and it can be ripped very easily. Girls can get ripped on the outside of their anus. They can get ripped on the inside of their anus. And whenever you have any ripping, there's always a chance for blood. And whenever there's a chance for blood, there is a chance for, transmission of diseases like HIV.
Mhm.
So I just never felt that this job, and this is a job and it's a career, I never felt that this job for me was worth that. It's not something that I get any enjoyment out of. And it's something that I feel is much more trouble than what it's worth.
Mm.
And for me. And I never wanted to take those chances for my job. Just like when I was a stripper, I never did any pole work. I never did any pole work because I've seen girls fall and break their neck. I've seen girls fall and break their nose and have to be
Break
taken to
neck.
the yes, absolutely. Have to be taken to the hospital and never the same again because they climbed a pole. Now, I mean, it sounds so silly, but is it really worth it? I mean, I guess it is if you really enjoy it. I don't really enjoy it. And since I don't really enjoy it, I'm not going to take those types of risks for my job.
So, 'cause just looking on that, just sticking to the pole incident, because I haven't actually entered one of these establishments, obviously, especially in America. But I have seen footage, and there's poles that are very very high that go like very high up to the ceiling, and there's
Yeah.
like normal poles. So, are we talking about those ones that go really high to the ceiling, which this young lady fell off and broke her neck on, or was this like
Yeah,
a
absolutely. The one that the girl that I know that fell and broke her neck, it was a really high pole. But I've also seen girls fall and, break their nose on a short pole. And
Mhm.
I've also seen girls just get banged up, falling off the pole, bruises, cuts, and scrapes. And
Yeah.
that's not something that I ever felt like was worth my job. Like, and I feel the same way about anal. Like the risks are higher than the reward for me.
So, okay, sticking on this because you're enlightening me and I think the audience with this. So, and as Prime's highlighted, this is sort of genre. Before, I guess it would be, it would be classed as like a separate sort of thing, like anal sort of movies or whatever. But it seems now in pornography, that seems to be the first thing. Sometimes there's scenes where people, there's no real interaction. It's just straight anal, and then it's a bit of oral, and that's pretty much going to be the scene. What's A, driving that, and B, are the female stars who are performing such dangerous acts and such extreme acts as well, are they receiving more pay for these things?
Very little more pay. We're talking a couple $100 extra. And to me, that's
Ah,
just not worth it. It's just not. As far as like why the surgeons, I mean, I'm sure we could figure it out. It might take us all day, but there's definitely was like a shift in porn at some point in the like early 2000s, like around the time that I started, maybe like 2003, 2004, where people were trying to do like the most extreme, audacious things on camera in order to get, you know, some recognition. And I really think that that's where a lot of the anal stuff really developed. I'm not exactly sure what caused that time period to happen, but I feel like it's actually kind of tapered off now, but in the height of my career, like everybody was doing anal like constantly. So, yeah, I have no idea why
because
the need for such extreme visuals, except that they were just trying to get views. Now I guess people have created other ways to get views, being creative and maybe
Mhm.
funny, entertaining in some other way besides, hey, look at this girl shoving a lava light up her butt.
Yeah, it's funny, but at the same time, it's isn't that called extreme penetration or something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, these were very very niche in the, as you say, in the early thousands. I mean, going back to that sort of period, it used to be almost a regular appearance on the DVD covers. It would say so and so, and they're doing their first anal scene, and that would be like the big selling point to for
Hmm.
the production value of it.
And
Um,
gaping assholes. There was a lot
oh,
of gaping asshole stuff back in the, 2000, early 2000s and stuff.
but then there was also those crazy record-breaking gangbang stuff that was around in the late
Yeah.
99s. That
Yeah.
definitely tapered off, and I'm glad because it was it was making a mockery of an act which should be to stimulate people, not to make them think, what on earth is this poor woman doing with all of those men?
Right. And I honestly I feel the same way. I could never fully satisfy more than 5 men at a time. And that's what I've always said as far as like my gangbang numbers go. I would really don't want to perform with more than 5 men. I feel like I could sexually satisfy 5 men. But any more than that, it's just them sticking their dick into a wet hole, which I don't really want to be. I don't want to promote those kind of images. And I'm not going to enjoy it because every person that I have sex with, I'm going to try to enjoy them. And, if I'm doing 600 guys, I'm not going to be able to enjoy each one of those guys. Not to mention, most of those were fake. Like is nobody ever wants to talk about that. But, most of those, it was like 50 guys done over and over again wearing different shirts,
Wow. So we in the Houston 720, and I can't even recall the other.
Good luck. You know what? Good luck finding 720 men that are willing to be on camera. I mean, think about that for 1 second. Like, really good luck finding 720 men willing to be on camera having sex.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting one.
Yeah, I think the limit. I think what it is.
I have a hard time finding 5 guys sometimes,
to take part.
Yeah, that everybody's got schedules and are busy and stuff. Like, yeah, it's hard to book something with multiple talent, let alone 750 guys. Come on. It's going to be like impossible to find that many guys that want to be on camera, that are willing to get tested and are available.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's too much anyway. That's way too much. And I don't see how that would stimulate someone anyway, even for the viewer.
It doesn't. The biggest stimulation that she got was like all the recognition that she got after doing it. I don't mean just Houston. I mean like she is in like whatever girl, whatever number we're talking about. It's like you don't enjoy it. You just end up being like a hole for some guys to stick their penis in. And I want to be a willing participant in like any kind of sex that I'm having. Like I want to fuck back. Like.
How often do you put out new scenes?
That I'm in, probably 5 to 10 a month.
Oh,
and I produce probably 10 to 20 a month.
Oh, so all in all, 30 a month you're putting out.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. So you're putting out in total 30 pieces a month.
Maybe. I mean, it's probably between 10 and 20. It's probably closer to 10 to 20, some of which I'm in and some of which I'm not.
Okay, and do you take requests from them? Do you do all that Snapchat thing and all that?
I have a Snapchat. I have a Snapchat Premium.
And that's, I can imagine, because I know that, so you take personal requests on that?
No.
Oh, it's just whatever you give?
Yeah, my Snapchat, I get on there and just show some aspects of my daily life. And then my Premium has more X-rated content.
Okay, so with the acceleration of social media, it's kind of made the industry took it to another level then with things like Snapchat Premium. So the talent are actually able to make better income.
Much better. If you know what you're doing, you can make much better income now than you could have ever made as a star in any previous year. There's so many opportunities to make money. It's just that you have to do it yourself. Nobody's going to just, write you out a paycheck. So there's a lot of work involved. But if you're willing to work, you can make a ton of money in this industry.
Okay, and now I want to talk a bit about the production side of things now, aside that I'm not sure if you've spoken about it before. So having your own production company, does that consist of having your own equipment? So can you actually film yourself, or do you outsource all that stuff?
I mean, I could film myself, but it wouldn't be very good quality. I have 2 cameramen, and my cameramen prefer to use their own cameras and their own equipment. I have my own lights. My cameramen also have their own lights. So sometimes we use mine, sometimes we use theirs, sometimes we use a mixture of both of ours. But usually when you deal with a videographer, he's probably going to want to work with his own equipment if he has, his own equipment, because obviously that's what he's going to be familiar with.
And do you have to be present when the editing's going down as well?
No, I'm not present during the editing. And the editor when he finishes it, he sends the final draft to me for quality control.
Okay, so because the way I look at it, well, I'm guessing the way you look at it is the same way you'd look at like a Hollywood production. So the edit's very important, isn't it? You want to try and capture the right, especially if it's one of those acting scenes, and you might put together a script and you want to capture, because every little piece of the build up is very important to the fan, isn't it? So each scenario, you want to make sure that each scenario ties into the finale.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up, because most of the productions that I've made in the past few years have been projects where they have a common theme, but the scenes have not been necessarily tied together. Like, I have a release called Big Titty Teachers. Guess what? It has big titty women in it that are dressed like teachers. So it's not like a cohesive unit. But I am currently working on 2 different projects that are cohesive projects. The first one is called The Adventures of Agent Blonde. That's what I'm working on right now. And it's a story about a private investigator that takes her job a little too seriously. She kind of thinks that she's an international spy, and maybe she is an international spy. And so, the story builds from when she gets a mission to like how she works through that mission. And that is one of the projects that I do need to quality control very closely to make sure that it makes sense and that the scenes are in order and everything is there and we're not missing anything, so that the viewer understands the whole concept of the project.
Well,
and go ahead.
I wonder if you can remember this scene then, because I've come prepared today for you. Not to say I wasn't last time, so I want you to get loose. So, all right, this is the scene that you shot with a local to us, basically. And I know this because the guy that today, I've got the notes in front of me anyway. So what he said is that, when I did look it up as well, but what you do, you pretending that you are a neighbor, and then when you came into the place, you had like a pair of pants, some kind of pants, what the guy left in your washing, and then you like take the scene from there. Now, why this question is important for what I'm trying to ask you is because, isn't that a segue for you to get into this new virtual reality porn?
Okay, I don't know if I understand your question. I'm sorry. I was there. I understood that I have some guy's pants that I found in the washer.
Do you remember that scene?
And then what? I don't, unfortunately.
All right, basically, why it's important. What I'm saying is that scene is a scene that's more suited to virtual reality, which they're saying is going to be the next big thing, where your fans can put a mask kind of thing on, and they're actually you're in front of them. They actually feel like you are in front of them. Is that something that I know it's a lot more expensive to shoot?
Yeah, as a production company, I'm not really prepared to start shooting virtual reality. I feel that at this point, I'm going to leave that to the people who have an interest in it.
Yeah.
There's several companies out there that have a virtual reality line, and they have the equipment, they have the knowledge on how to produce it and how to direct it. And I feel like that should be left up, to the professionals. I don't have a strong demand for it. I do get occasionally some fans that are interested if I have any virtual reality scenes, but I direct them to the scenes that I've done with other companies. Okay. I feel like, if a company is taking their time to learn how to shoot virtual reality porn, then they're probably going to continue that and build on the knowledge that they've already acquired.
And another major thing is the blow up doll situation. That's like a major merch thing where men are spending. That's like a big thing. I think it was like top 20 on Amazon in the UK anyway.
Yeah.
In the UK, this is so. I'm
Because
guessing
you guys are freaky.
I mean, I doubt we're as freaky as you guys over there. So, is that something you've looked into?
I wouldn't be so. I wouldn't say that necessarily. I do Studio 66, which is phone sex over there when I go over there, and you'd be real surprised. British boys are very, very, very freaky.
But I think you guys over there are 10 years. You're so much more forward. I don't think the industry is that advanced as what it is over there yet. As far as it ain't
no,
that.
I don't mean the industry. I mean individuals, like consumers. The fantasies and the things that come out of British consumers are much, much freaky.
Oh, okay, so it's something you enjoy. So you like coming over here then?
Yeah, it's fine.
Is it a big part of your market? You never said that with too much enthusiasm, though.
Well, it's not a big part of my market, but it's still enjoyable and entertaining. I spend a lot of time, like I said, doing phone sex when I come over there, so I get to hear everybody's dirty secrets, and it's always enlightening. I feel like Americans often have the same fantasies over and over again, and maybe it's because there is a lack of industry in the UK. But yeah, the British consumers have very vivid imaginations.
So, in the States,
I'm sorry, you were asking. I dodged your question. I apologize. You were asking about sex dolls.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah, go ahead.
I apologize.
That's fine.
And I don't think you finished your question either. I apologize.
No, basically all I was saying is that basically, I'm looking at the market because you should know by now we're business people. We're business people. That's something we need to talk to you about as well. But the dolls are top 20 selling right now on Amazon in the UK. Mm-hmm. So is that something like it's a whole new merch market for yourself? Is that something you're working on, like the Sara Jay doll, or you're not thinking about that right now?
No, not right at the moment. Dolls are very expensive to produce, and they're very heavy to ship, and they are the type of product that you don't sell thousands of. You sell 100 or less. So that's not necessarily a product that I'm looking to get into. If I get offered the deal, that's great. But currently, I have something a little bit more financially capable, I guess, for a consumer. I have what they call a stroker.
Is that the fleshlight?
I've had a fleshlight also. A fleshlight is my fleshlight was discontinued in 2013, but the fleshlight is just a sleeve that you use on your dick, and it's molded to be. The outside of it is molded to be the outside of my vagina, has my signature on it. But the stroker is actually a device that you put on your dick, and it creates suction, and there's all kinds of like textures and different feelings inside of it. And there's little gaps that actually create suction on your dick, so it feels like you have some sucking going on. And you have a button on one side and it vibrates, and then you click the button again and you actually get to hear my voice while you're stroking your cock. And it's a lot cheaper than most strokers out there as well. So I feel like something that a consumer can use and that we can sell thousands of at a reasonable price point. I feel like that's a better option.
Okay, well, it sounds like you're ahead of the game. You're definitely ahead of the game. And how are the walkthroughs over there in the States? Is that something, like, how do you get on with them then?
Walkthroughs?
You know the walkthroughs, yeah.
No, I don't. Can you explain?
Ah, what part of America are you from, Sarah?
All over.
Miami. Originally, you from
I,
Miami,
I
yeah?
I've lived in Miami for 12 years. I lived in Las Vegas for 8 years. I lived in
Ah,
Oregon for 7 years. I lived in New York for a year. I lived in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana. Like I've lived everywhere in the U.S.
all right.
So what
Basically,
what is the walkthrough?
all right. The walkthrough is basically where the fans come out. You walk through and you talk on the mic. You kind of host. You kind of,
Oh, hosting,
that's a big
hosting.
thing right now. That's a big thing here
Yeah,
right now. Yeah, is that what you call it?
yeah,
Hosting, yeah.
hosting. Yeah. As a performer, as an adult performer, we don't do walkthroughs. We do hostings because we don't have a song to perform, and it's not like I'm a musical artist. So like we usually do hostings where we are there for a few hours in the evening, and the fans can come in and party with us at the club or wherever we're at.
Okay, great stuff. Noble, come through.
Yes. So
Mostly what I do, I try not to do too many hosting gigs because I would prefer to perform at clubs. I like to do a whole like strip routine and get paid for a night of entertainment versus just sitting there, and if you're lucky you might catch a glimpse of me past my security.
Pass your
well,
security. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so a walkthrough or a hosting gig,
Yeah,
I would be sitting at my table
yeah,
with my friends
yes,
and drinking and maybe dancing, enjoying myself with several security at our table so that way we are secure.
yes.
And as a consumer, you would be at the same club or event as myself, but you may not ever have a chance to see me or talk to me. Whereas if I can perform on stage, I can have interactions with everybody that comes to the stage, and everyone can see me and everybody can enjoy my performance.
That's what we need. That's what we need in the UK. We need to make it happen first. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's what we need.
agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. So just go back to your I take it your what did you call it? A torch. What was the product name again? Sorry, Sarah.
Flashlight.
Stroker.
Stroker. So
Mm-hmm.
I take it, is that like a patented design? Because that sounded like a lot of different bits and pieces you got on that with a audio voice note of you whilst, the user is using said item.
Yeah, it's great, right? They the company is called 1 a.m. Dolls, Pleasure Products USA, and I think it's quite an upgrade from a flashlight or any other stroker. Not to narrow out flashlights, but any other stroker. I feel that what's really missing is that extra sense of being able to hear me. Like so many people. I do a lot of phone sex and stuff, and so many people want to hear my voice while they're getting off. So this gives them the opportunity to do that.
Okay. And without giving away the patented audio, I mean, are you actually talking or is it sort of sounds?
A little bit of both.
Okay. And what do these items retail for? Like what, $70 or something like that? Or
There's if I'm not mistaken, there's 65 online, and a lot of times if you can um, catch me at one of my events, there'll be a discount.
so you can prepare then. So in essence, you'd stock up if you go into like a merchant fan sort of forum type thing and bring a load of material, merchandise, etc. And
Hmm.
okay. And going back to Prime Minister's question reference the dolls. Now,
Hmm.
it makes sense your response. It does 100%. But at the same time, I'm sure with your shrewd head and you being the consummate businesswoman, is there not a way, or or maybe you're already doing this, but you're not saying that you're going to be, or you have approached one of the main manufacturers, or the best people who do such thing, and talk about maybe licensing your likeness as for their dolls, so you're not necessarily having the outlay of material and tooling, etc. But as I say, license your image, so the dolls, these live huge sex dolls, could be purchased by your adoring fans.
So 1AM Dolls Pleasure Products USA, they have a full-size doll that um, is, modeled after different stars. And well, they just started doing some modeled after different stars, but they prefer to keep a more generic look. So um, that way they have a lower price point as well. It's quite an expense for them to mold my body. It's quite an expense for them to come up with all the material. And why am I worried about their expenses? Because I'm worried about their profits. And why am I worried about their profits? Because that means that's how my profits. So we wouldn't get into any kind of project that was not going to be extremely profitable.
I
Do you
understand.
understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like even though it's not my company to worry about, I am concerned about, the cost of making the product and the cost of shipping the product, because something like that, I'm not going to be able to store 100 of them in my house like I can the stroker. I am not going to be able to take them all to the convention and sell them myself like I can a stroker. It really limits what I can do to promote sales. So
Mhm.
with that being limited, you have to make sure that it's something that is, the time is right and that it's cost effective.
Return on investment, profitability, scalability. I totally understand. Totally understand what you're saying. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and going back to virtual reality and technology, you're taking advantage of clearly everything else bar the virtual reality side. What are you thinking, and what are you planning for the next sort of, I would say, 3 years in regards to on the tech side, so you can stay ahead of the game, or content wise, what are you thinking?
Well, right now, a lot of what I'm doing is just really solidifying my productions and my production company, trying to raise the quality of the, things that we're producing, and also work on my management company and really try to get our website up. So I'm doing a lot of back end stuff right now that isn't necessarily advanced technology or anything, but there's so much stuff already out there. We're just trying to dial in all the things that we already have currently.
Okay, okay. So there's definitely some things on the horizon, maybe not technical wise, but you're looking to sort of tighten up certain areas and
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
There's so many opportunities to sell content online and so many different ways to, make money and have residual income. And I think that, especially this year and probably next year, most of my efforts are going to be just really re-solidifying myself as a production company and all the things that we've already produced.
And do you see? Well, yeah, yeah. Do you see um your company expanding into maybe more international waters?
Absolutely. I mean, we already do shoot talent from, many other places. I've shot talent from, all over UK, Spain, Europe, Budapest. We also have done some really great scenes in, places like Curacao, and we've got some Colombia trips coming up as well.
So you're definitely getting that passport stamped up, tatted up, as they say. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How was your stay in Curacao?
This is incredible. I love Curacao.
Very different island, isn't it?
Yeah, gotta love the Dutch.
You definitely have to. Have you been to Bonaire yet?
I haven't been to Bonaire.
That put that one on the list.
It's
If
definitely
especially
on the list.
that one most definitely. So Caribbean wise, where else are we going? Are we going to go to more of the we going to Jamaica? We going Puerto Rico? We going to Dominican Republic? What's our plans in that sense?
No, as of right now, I mean, I live in Miami, which is, and we do most of our productions here, which, it's pretty tropical in itself and creates a beautiful backdrop for anything that we might want to create. Uh, Curacao has, been very special in that we've been able to do a lot of things in public that that you haven't been able to do other places because it's so desolate and it's a lot of abandoned places there, and it's been really interesting to be able to film there a little bit. Um, but yeah, other than that, there's really no need as of right now to shoot anywhere else in the Caribbean.
Okay, okay. There's plenty of destinations and spots, but if you found something which works for you and gives you the freedom to
Yeah,
operate, by all means.
I I just need some blue ocean, blue skies, and some palm trees, which we can find those a lot of places.
Definitely, definitely. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Do you actually have male talent on your books?
I do. Rome Major and King Noir.
Okay. Now, how for someone who is contemplating, you know, being male talent and have maybe done one or two home movies before his partner and her friend and the boyfriend, etc., and that he's pretty confident and stuff. What is the next step? What would you suggest for that young male to do? Should you reach out to yourself or
Definitely not me. I don't hire unexperienced male talent, as I said before. But I would suggest, being this is a do-it-yourself kind of industry and kind of world now, I would suggest that if you've got some footage, you should maybe put it up on one of these tube sites and start an account, see if you can make some money on it, maybe do some camming. There's a lot of opportunities for camming. Get really used to the camera, get used to people critiquing you. Look at your own footage, see where you could, improve. And, if the opportunity arises to go to some of these adult shows that are in your area and maybe, try to meet some people, prepared with like a business card or a flyer with links to where we could see, your work, even if it is just home movies that you edited yourself.
Mhm.
You know, just like any other job, you can't show up to a job interview without any proof of your talents.
an experience? Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, male talent wise, clearly this is a women driven industry. Correct me if I'm wrong in regards to the
It
pay.
is.
What what it should be clearly because that's what most people are watching the women. Um, what kind of money are we talking about for male talent? I mean, from the lowest of the low, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, from your new
Mm-hmm.
people to your like your Lex Steels if he's still about. I don't know who's hot male
Mm-hmm.
talent wise these days. What can they be sort of earning per shoot?
Well, there's so many guys that want to do it. It's really, it really dis I guess discredits the amount of money that you could make because there's so many guys just willing to do it for free. Um, and if you're willing to do something for free, you'll probably never get paid. But then
Agreed.
that somebody that's like an actual star, they get paid the same, if not more, than some female talent. But men have different opportunities than women do. So even though their per scene rate might be less, they have the opportunity to shoot more per day, for the simple fact that they don't have to sit through makeup and wardrobe. They don't have to do pretty girls. So they're required to be on set a shorter amount of hours, which means that they can fit in more scenes per day. They also have a longer, they have longevity in the industry as well. So where most girls maybe don't want to be on camera after 40, 45, 50, there's many male performers that perform all the way into their 60s. And, especially with ED medicine like Viagra and Cialis and stuff like that, that gives male performers even a longer career. And because male performers don't necessarily have as much income as a female, because they aren't necessarily paid for appearances and a lot of the other opportunities that a pretty girl gets. Males often look at the back end of the industry, the things that I've been delving into, which production and being a director, or maybe just being an affiliate of a lot of different companies and driving traffic, and that's how they make extra cash. There's so many ways to make extra money that money that you make on scene is just a drop in the bucket.
Okay. So let me just get this straight. That sounded very clear and concise, but I'm slightly confused. Maybe I'm just a little bit different. Males can do multiple scenes. Like maybe, are you saying like they could maybe do like two or three or four scenes a day? Maybe you're saying?
Sure, absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. I mean, whereas a girl might be required to be on set for 6 hours, a guy might only be required to be on set for 2 or 3.
Okay. So would he get then this? Would the producer, mate, filmmakers, would they employ trickery then? Because after the male talent has ejaculated, if he's doing that multiple times, unless there's some kind of special secret where you can maintain the same level of, volume that's being, ejaculated, how would that work? Is there some kind of trickery done to kind of simulate that, or would a stunt person come in? I don't know, like a standing person to do
Not
the
at
pop
all.
shot?
That's why these guys are stars.
Oh, okay.
Not it's not this job is not for everybody. Not everybody can do this job and do it right, and not everybody can do the job to the point where they'd be considered a star. So, every granted, every man has a penis, but not every man's penis works the same way.
Hmm. That sounds like some Peter North type thing.
There's just plenty of guys that know their body, and they know that after, they get done with a scene, they just need a little snack and they'll be ready to go again.
Okay. What's your thoughts on that, Prime?
Yeah, I think Sarah's right, to be honest, because it's something that to be able to go over and over and over again, not everyone can do that, and to be able to do that on camera and perform as well. Yeah, I think it takes someone who, I wouldn't say it's a talent, but I'd say it takes someone who knows how to do it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, considering what we're doing, I would consider it a talent for our industry. I mean, it might not be a talent for a regular guy, but if
Hmm.
it's a skill that is needed for your job, then it's a talent,
Yes.
there's a lot of guys that, you know, don't have their sex drive is higher than the average man's sex drive, or they know that they know their triggers. They know that if you tickle their balls and tweak their left nipple, that they'll be able to come no matter what. They know that dark place deep in their mind that they need to go to in order to maintain an erection and to ejaculate when requested. And not everybody can do that. Not everybody can come on command, and not everybody can have multiple pops in a day, but stars do often. And that's why
Yeah.
not every man is getting paid the same money that girls are getting paid.
I think it's a lot to do with nerves though as well, because once the lights come on and the cameras, there's some people who they probably can't perform like that in front of others, but when he probably gets home, he's probably a star in his own right there. But when the cameras come on and the lights are on, and plus you might have to do something over and over again. Although we only see the finished product, it might be like, oh, I'll do that again. Like, you have to be in the
Yeah.
moment, you see what I mean? So I do get what you mean, but I just think it's like, you have to almost... I don't think you can really have emotion when you're doing it. I don't see how
Yeah,
you could.
it's a job. It's not like, it's not like we're in love. It's not like your feelings are going to get hurt or anything like that. You have to be a professional. It's a job. Like, it, you'd mentioned before if there was a lot of like downtime to get to know, the other performer. And a lot of times I don't even want to, because it's a job. I don't want to have feelings for them, and they don't need to have feelings for me.
But doesn't that form part of a work? Like, I've heard certain porn stars or actresses, performers say I like working with Rick, for instance. We've got a good connection. He's a funny guy, blah blah blah. He's got a good personality. So to be fair, I only work with him, and so on. So also, wouldn't that play a part of like getting to know each other versus just literally keeping it
Absolutely.
professional?
Absolutely, but what if it happens the other way around? What if you got to know Rick right before your scene, and Rick is a racist asshole, he's a Republican, and you can't stand him by the time that it's time for you to work together?
Good points. Excellent points.
I've had that happen before as well. Like, I don't really want a lot of extra free time with my male talent, or any talent, male or female, prior to the scene. If the scene went good and afterwards we get along and we want to go out to dinner or lunch together or whatever, that's cool. But a lot of times if I'm working with somebody for the first time, I don't want to know them that much, and I don't have to, because we're here to do a job.
Agreed. I get the both points. I get the both views, most definitely.
I mean, when it works out, it's glorious. Don't get me wrong. Like,
Yeah,
I've got really great chemistry with some guys in the industry, but like, until I know that that chemistry is going to be um, made more because of our personalities getting along, then unless that's guaranteed, I really just want to keep it as professional as possible. Like, there's been numerous times where I've had a scene with somebody, and after we've had to sit and talk to each other for an extra hour and a half or something, because of something that happened on set, and now I really am not attracted to them at all.
I hear that. I hear that. All right, then, Sarah J, it's been definitely a pleasure, and
Thank you so much.
we wish you all the best. When are you actually coming to the UK?
I usually come every fall, so I'll be out there again in September.
September. Okay, no problem.
Hmm.
No problem. All right, thanks for the interview.
You're more than welcome. Thanks for talking to me.
All
It's
right,
been a pleasure.
have a great day.
You too.